Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Scrolls. As always, I'm PA, and today we're going to be just playing another quick match, not a bot quick match. We're going to be playing a quick match against a person. Just a real quick look at the deck. I've actually made significant improvements since we last saw it. I love this music still. For those who are not too familiar, I'll try to explain the general idea of the deck and why I find it so good, so versatile as it is. So we have a couple of cheap cards. Here, let me actually just sort this out as we go. We have Copper Automatons, which are very simple kill cards for energy. They're a one-turn creature that deals 4 damage. It has 2 health, that is destroyed after attacking. So, if you use one, it'll wait 1 turn, then it'll blow something up. I have some plating cards. Plating is pretty good for blocking a single source of damage. If you want to make sure that something doesn't die faster, or making sure that something can tank for another unit that is not supposed to die. Alternatively, plating actually has some interesting functionality with a different card that I'll bring up later. We have Gun Automaton, the old standby, just 2 cost, 2 attack, 3 health. It works out pretty well. With the advent of Decay, they do have Languid, which is an enchantment that reduces attack by 2 in exchange for, actually pretty much nothing. It's just a debuff for your creature. So, Languid makes Gun Automatons just a mobile tank, almost like a very small HP tank, but it still has uses. They're just general, slight damage, early game play. Mostly late game they're going to be sacrificed. As you can see, I've played this one 7 times, won 4 times with that in 9 matches, and sacrificed 4 times. So you can actually see a lot of things, a lot of stats about my cards here, because I've actually been upgrading them a bit. Whenever you upgrade a card, whenever you craft it to a higher tier, its stats do reset though, so they're not going to be fantastic. Then, Overdrive, we'll save that one for later. That's a bit of a different card. We're going to go really quickly over the kill cards we have in the deck. Spark, very simple, 2 damage. Inferno Blast, 1 damage to 1 tile, and then all the hexagons surrounding it. We have Blind Rage, which is actually a new favorite of mine. If you're up against decks that have, like, say, a single high cooldown unit and then a bunch of little ones around it, or just a unit that you don't want to attack as quickly, you have Blind Rage, which can increase its cooldown by 1, as well as deal its current cooldown to all adjacent units, so it's fairly effective. And you're going to have Burn, which is 3 damage to a unit. If you kill it, draw a card. You have Thunder Surge, very powerful AoE removal, especially in this meta where a lot of players are going to be looking at lots of low health creatures with both Growth and Decay now, which both focus on that sort of thing. And then we have Violent Dispersal, just the most basic destroy target unit. So then we have a couple of structures that deal damage. We have Charge Coil, very simple, 3 health, 3 to cost, attacks every turn, and deals 1 damage to a random unit, which doesn't seem like much at first, but then you start to get 1 or 2 of them out, and it's dealing damage faster than your opponents can get units out, which not only weakens them so they could be killed by a Cannon Automaton, a Charge Coil might kill it by itself. Then we have Hellspitter Mortar, which is more where you have Charge Coil, which has very low numbers for a 3. Hellspitter Mortar has massive numbers for a 3. 5 attack, 6 health, only a 2-turn cooldown. But it attacks a randomly selected tile, so you're going to be looking at a situation where you're kind of praying to the RNG gods that a Hellspitter does or does not hit you, depending on which side you're on. And sometimes it'll hit, sometimes it won't, but if your opponent has more on the field, it'll work out fairly well. But more than anything else, it is a 3-cast, 6-health unit, so it is a fantastic tank, and it's something your opponent feels like they have to be scared of just a little bit. And, I mean, come on, you have Hellspitter, and that's just going to be fun all over. So, other structures we have Metal Wonder, the old standby from last video. Whenever your opponent casts anything that isn't a creature or a structure, they take 2 damage to an idol. This actually works extremely well with the next card, Solemn Giant. Solemn Giant, you cast for 4, and then you can pay 2 energy to decrease its cooldown by 2, and it doesn't cool down naturally. So if you have 10 energy, you can insta-cast a Solemn Giant, which is pretty cool. And when I say insta-cast, I mean you can cast it and it'll attack in the same turn. One of the great things about Solemn Giant is it's an 8 attack card, so it can't instantly kill any, what would it be called, idol? But it gets pretty goddamn close. And then, this combined with Metal Wonder. Metal Wonder deals 2 damage to a random idol, and idols have 10 health. So if something gets hit by a Metal Wonder even once, if you get to the late game where something has been hit a couple of times by Metal Wonder, or a Cannon Automaton, or a Gun Automaton rather, shot something early, you can just, if you have 10 energy, you can insta-cast a Solemn Giant and just take out one of their idols before they can even react. It's a fantastic fantastic card, and it goes for... Again, this is one of the most expensive cards in the game right now, which is a bit unfortunate because I still need a third one, but hopefully I'll get enough for that. And then we have Cannon Automaton, my very basic kind of beefy creature, but more often than not, this just actually gets sacrificed. I'm trying to find something that might work better than the cannon in my deck, but I haven't found anything yet, and getting some meat on the board is never a bad idea. Then we have we actually have a little bit of a combo. I'm going to bring Plating back out. So we have 3 cards. We have Clock Library, which is Energy's notable draw card. When its cooldown is 0, you get 3 cards, and it has 4 cooldown. Then we have Ether Pump, which has a 3-turn cooldown, but it's basically an upgraded charge coil, because whenever Ether Pump attacks, everything takes 1 damage on your opponent's side of the field, save for their idols. Idols are spared, so this is more just board clear. And then we have Overdrive, the card that makes these 2 viable. Ether Pump gets a lot of flack for being kind of a high cooldown for low damage. But one of the great things about it is if you play Overdrive, Overdrive reduces the cooldown of whatever unit it affects, and it has to affect the structure by 2. At the end of the turn that you play, and it also does that when it's casted, so you can have it kind of in pocket an extra 2 cooldown off for whatever you use. Now Overdrive does deal 2 damage to whatever structure it's cast on. However, this is dealing damage, and as such can be prevented by additional plating, which is a fairly cheap combo. Because if you have the 4 energy to cast an Ether Pump or a Clock Library, you'll be able to cast Overdrive or Plating the next...
If your car is parked right outside the doors here, it is permit parking only. You will get towed, so if your car is out there, you do need to move it.
I am at a LAN event at the moment, hence no PA's perpetual testing for the next day or 2, but we're still going to be just looking at this. So Plating will prevent the damage from Overdrive, which allows Ether Pump to get an extra shot off, or allows Clock Library to be a little bit more tanky. Admittedly, it's usually just Ether Pump and Plating I'll be using. Since one of the great things about Overdrive is this is 2 cooldown in addition to the normal 1 cooldown per turn. So Ether Pump will attack every single turn until it deals enough damage to kill itself, and with 5 health, that's going to be 4 attacks or 3 additional turns before it does that. And by that point, if the enemy board was clear beforehand, it's probably not going to be afterwards. Meanwhile, if you have 6 mana, or 6 energy in this case, you can cast Clock Library and cast Overdrive the same turn. Clock Library will take 2 damage at the end of the turn unless you played it, but at the same time, it'll go off the very next turn. There is little to no way to be able to stop a Clock Library Overdrive combo without a kill card handy or a kill card in your hand, if the energy player is playing well. By the way, since I am at a LAN event, if you're hearing any background noise, I'm going to try to use noise removal on that, but no guarantee on how well that's going to work. So, we're just going to play a quick one with this deck, which is all set out. I'm just going to play a nice quick match here, and let's see if we can't find an opponent about my skill level. Hopefully, we're going to find another Decay deck, since there's been a lot of that recently, and I'm still getting used to it. But Decay seems to have a lot of trouble with structures, which means that the Ether Pump and all that actually does work out quite well. And I'm going to be going second, which is to my advantage, because it means that I'm going to be able to get some cards that my opponent does not. He's going to be playing a growth deck, so absolutely no surprise there. I'm going to go ahead and just sacrifice Ether Pump. I'm not going to play Copper Automaton, because this is more a kill. Think of Copper Automaton not as a creature that attacks once, but as a kill spell that has a 1-turn delay, because it is a lot more effective that way. And Ether Pumps, I am sacrificing them early. I'm also probably going to sacrifice the Thunder Surge early, because cards are reshuffled and you're going to draw quite a bit in the course of a game. I might be able to see those again, but they're not really going to be as useful in the early game. He's going to play a Ragged Wolf, which I honestly think is a bit of a weird decision. Oh, and I got Clock Library and Overdrive, which is great for me. Just because Ragged Wolf is a good card if you can sort of get them out. I almost want to save my Spark just in case he has a Kinfolk Brave or something like that in his hand. But Ragged Wolves are not very threatening on their own. It's when you start to get Great Wolves out and things like that, then you start to be really, really threatened. Or when he starts to play Stag Hearts on them, so that's actually a problem for me. Hopefully, there we go. Just what I was hoping for, a Hellspitter Mortar. The good old tank that I was mentioning earlier. So now I have to be careful. If he plays another Stagheart or 2, that could actually get pretty threatening for me. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to be able to play my Clock Library behind my Hellspitter here. Hopefully he's actually not going to move this Ragged Wolf out of the way. He gets a Vader of the Wild. This actually does get him extra growth energy, so I'm going to kill that immediately. I cannot let that live. which is a bit unfortunate since I do have a bunch of clock libraries I want to play. I'm wondering... He only has one card, which means he either needs 5 growth for it, and would have to sacrifice his next card, or he's just hoping for something and playing the Vader because he can, because he had the extra growth. I'm going to guess that he... does not have a high-cost creature that he has to drop. If it's a Great Wolf, then I'm going to be in a lot of trouble here, but I'm assuming that he's not going to be about to drop something big. And I'm hoping he's not going to prove me wrong. Because the thing about the Vader of the Wild, it does give you 1 growth, but it only gives you 1 growth for as long as it lives. He did just sacrifice for cards, so he's looking for something for 5 cost. Great Wolf is a great 5-drop, as is Kinfolk Brave. Or not Kinfolk Brave, what is it called? It's the only haste Kinfolk card. It's a 3/5 creature, Kinfolk Veteran, there it is! The 5 creature I was kind of hoping he didn't have. Anyway, this is going to be able to tank 1 more hit for me, which is pretty nice, and then I do have a gun automaton here. So if I play the automaton, or do I want to sacrifice it? Because once you start to get clock library, you're going to be sacrificing a lot of your cards early for energy, because you're going to be able to draw so much early. What I'm going to do, I think, is actually... Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to be really greedy. And I'm talking really greedy. I'm going to save Overdrive and Clock Library, and I'm going to play them both next turn. What this means is that in 2 turns, I will draw a shitload. But for now, I am actually going to Spark the Vader of the Wild, just so it doesn't attack my creature. Hopefully, Hellspitter Mortar lands on the Kinfolk Vet. No dice. But that was a long shot anyway. It's 1 out of 15 that it's going to hit the tile you want. So I only had a 2 out of 15 chance that it was going to hit anything. And as you know, those aren't great odds. He does have to sacrifice for resources now, and he does get another Vader of the Wild, which makes that sort of useless for me. And he gets an Ancestral Totem, which is a massive problem, and I probably should not have sacrificed Spark. I do have Plating now, though. So, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to overdrive this Clock Library, immediately proccing it. And then... I don't have Overdrive anymore, so Ether Pump isn't going to be as viable. But on the other hand, playing it early would allow me to get a bit closer. Or do I want to play Clock Library and then hope that he doesn't kill it in time? Because I still haven't seen any more than 1 of my 3 Thunder Surges, so if I get any sort of kill card, I can kill the Ancestral Totem. And a Clock Library is pretty hard to deal with. It does have 5 health, so it's a fairly good tank. Plus, if he tries to kill it early, I can just plate it and try to have it survive that way. The thing is, though, I'm really hoping for another Overdrive that I can combine with the Ether Pump and a couple of platings to clear the board, and that's actually a problem with that Kinfolk Vet, because that's going to be dealing 4 damage to the Clock Library right off the bat. So he's going to probably kill my middle idol, and you're thinking, well, PA, you're giving up your idols a bit easily, aren't you? And I'd say, yeah, I am. But, at the same time, idols aren't as important early game. Now, here's what I'm actually going to do. I'm going to play Plating on him, I'm going to play another Ether Pump up here, and then I'm going to play a Copper Auto right here. If he moves creatures down to block the Copper Auto from attacking this, then something's going to die to the Ancestral, or something's going to die in place of the Ancestral Totem. Best case scenario, the Copper Auto takes out the Ancestral Totem and he gets -1 attack on everything else. But it's really going to depend on how my opponent plays here. Sacrificing for scrolls is a pretty common thing once growth decks hit 6 growth, because growth decks are going to focus on trying to kill you and keep you down early, from which point they can just... Oh, he thought I was trying to kill his Kinfolk Brave. So he's going to actually Fertile Soil it. And then, is he going to move anything to block for the totem? No! Oh, he is. He's going to move his wolf. Okay, good. I think that's a good move. So now, I have a Charge Coil, which is actually great for me, because right now I need some creature removal. I absolutely need some creature removal. I'm going to play Charge Coil in the middle here. I'm going to sacrifice the Gun Auto. Play Charge Coil here. Oh, wait a second. I actually have an Overdrive. I'm going to play that immediately. There we go, and I got a Burn card. Oh, that's great. I'm not going to be able to use it, though, is the thing. So what I'm going to do... I can actually burn the Ancestral Totem next turn. what I'm going to do this turn to make sure that that idol doesn't take any more damage than it has to, I'm going to play a charge coil, and I'm going to plate it. So that way it's guaranteed to get at least one shot off, and it's blocking off that little middle row from the Kinfolk veteran. So the Vader of the Wild is not very threatening to me. I know that you're thinking, like, I could have overdrived my ether pump, and that would have allowed me to do quite a bit. And you're right, but at the same time, overdriving my clock library gets it out to me 2 turns earlier, and since it only did have 1 health, it would have been very simple for him to play cards to kill it. So if he's able to get things out that keep that totem up somehow, like something that I'd have to burn more than I have to burn that totem, then that'll prove to be a mistake, not using the ether pump. But I don't think he has enough out at low amounts of health. The Great Wolf is a bit of a threatening thing. It is at 4 attack now, but hopefully I'm going to be able to take that out soon. I do have a Metal 1, and I do have a second charge coil. So now it starts to become, what do you want to play? I don't want to play the Cannon Auto, I know that for sure. I know that I want to burn the Ancestral Totem, but do I want to do that this turn? I think I do. Okay, and I get an overdrive on Ether Pump, so I'm going to play another charge coil here, in the middle row, since playing your structures in the same row I can't speak evidently, forces your opponent to take action against it. It's basically saying, here is a very large and present threat to you. One that you have to pay attention to. So now, next turn, here's the possibilities for attack. The Ether Pump is going to attack second, so hopefully the Charge Coil doesn't hit the Vader of the Wild, since when you're attacking scrolls, you will go top to bottom, front to back. And when I'm saying top to bottom, it doesn't mean 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. These little hexagonal rows count as a single column, even though they're slightly off-center. So, oh, he got God Hand. That's terrible for me. He just killed everything. There were a few things that would have ended with bad situation for me, and that was one of them. But here we go. I'm going to play Clock Library, and I'm going to overdrive it. But I don't know if I want to sacrifice this. I think I do actually want to sacrifice the Hellsplitter Mortar for mana. Just because you want to get up to about 10 to 12 mana with energy by the end of the game. And if you can stay at the very least even with your opponent, you can do alright. But right now, as you can see, he has 4 cards and 8 energy. And one of that, or 8 growth. One of that growth is coming from the Vader of the Wild, so once I kill that, I'll be at a little bit of an advantage, especially since I'm about to draw 4 this next turn. He plays a Mangy Wolf, and if he has any sort of cooldown reduction card that he's able to play, that'll be able to work. Otherwise, this procs at the beginning of my next turn, and I won't have any issues there. He did reduce the Great Wolf's cooldown by playing the Mangy Wolf, which is kind of a problem, but I don't think he really... I don't know what he's doing, to be honest, moving all these creatures down here. I think he's just trying to present a clear and present danger to all my creatures. He might try to take out the middle idol this turn with the Great Wolf, unless it already moved, which I don't remember. But right now I need a Violent Dispersal for that, which hopefully I'll be able to draw with the Clock Library. Else, I'll just... Oh, Crimson Bull, fuck my life. Oh no wait, Crimson Bull doesn't reduce cooldown, does it? No, it's just +2 attack. Okay, so that was a little bit wasted even. That was not what I was looking for. I'm gonna sacrifice the Cannon Auto actually might be exactly what I need right now. How much energy do I have? 8? If I could get a burn, I'd be able to kill the Kinfolk Veteran, but I have to kind of take into account how likely that is. I think I've only used 1 burn thus far, and I've drawn quite a bit. I'm gonna sacrifice the Gun Auto for cards. Spark and Thunder Surge. Okay, so not what I was looking for, but it worked. So I'm going to Inferno Blast these guys. I'm going to Spark his Vet. And then, next turn, I should be able to play a little bit more. I can't actually get any sort of energy or anything like that, but I do need to make sure that he's going to kill one of these next turn. That's pretty much inevitable. He's focusing on the middle 2, and that's pretty blatant. But hopefully he doesn't have any sort of kill ability that would allow him to get all of these this turn. I don't think there's anything he'd be able to do that would allow him to kill everything with 3 cards, or 4 cards, and 7 growth. And if he moves all of his creatures together, Thunder Surge will do a great job taking them all out. He's playing an Eye of Eagle, which allows him to get a creature. He's probably going to get a Wolf or a Kinfolk something, but he's actually sacrificing for scrolls, which means he did not get what he was looking for. So, he's got a Mangy Wolf, so that reduces the cooldown of his Great Wolf by 1, and brings it up to 6 attacks. So it's going to take out the middle, and his Mangy Wolf is going to be attacking the bottom row as well. Then he's got a Kinfolk Brave, which he's actually doing a good job separating all these. Oh, never mind, he's not doing such a good job. So he's definitely focusing on the middle. I need to kill that Kinfolk Brave this turn if I don't want it to immediately kill all my creatures, and I pulled a Solemn Giant. Okay, I think that now I can sacrifice the Cannon Auto for Scrolls, 2 Thunder Surges and an Inferno Blast. That's really frustrating. Because now I have to take into account, do I think he can kill my units this turn? What I'm going to do is to protect this, I'm going to play Metal Wonder, and I'm going to plate it. Then I'm going to play Inferno Blast this turn, to deal 1 damage to everything. And if he keeps those creatures together, I'll be able to Thunder Surge the next turn. But if he doesn't, then I'm going to have a bit more of a problem. I'm hoping for a Spark or a Burn in addition to the Thunder Surge, but right now only Spark would work, since that Great Wolf is really my biggest problem. He plays a Ragged Wolf which has haste and is going to proc the plating before the Kinfolk Brave deals 1 damage. But he did play them all together. He's linking them up perfectly. If he doesn't have any sort of cooldown reduction. Oh, he disconnected them. That was smart. That was good of him. Because right now, he's making me choose. Do I want to protect that, or do I want to kill the bottom units? And I want to kill the bottom units, by far. So, there's that. Then I'll have to...
So if you guys brought your own chairs, you have a spare chair, if you wouldn't mind just putting them up here at the front, we'll rely on chairs for current chairs. So, if we're expecting another thing, and if you need a chair, a spare one for you.
Okay, I've got to block an attack from this Great Wolf. By the way, sorry about the audio cutting out just there. Whenever they make an announcement overhead, I'm probably going to just turn it way down. My Metal Wonder is going to die this turn, which kind of sucks. And if you notice, I'm in a pretty bad situation with idols right now. Because I haven't been able to get up the energy to be able to get through his creatures yet. He's been able to maintain board control pretty admirably. And that kind of sucks for me. Honestly, I'd say if there was any mistake I made... Okay, so that has 2 attack now, and it's going to be able to kill that, and he has Rallying, so that's game. Because there is no way I'm going to be able to live through that, yeah. Alright, so the cooldown reduction did allow him to get through everything fairly easily. I think that if I made any mistake, it was even letting that wolf live on turn 2. He was able to get a Stagheart on that, which was able to take out a lot more things than I would have liked it to with the 2 damage. And then, that same wolf was able to give the Great Wolf more attack when it first came out. Unless it died first? I can't remember if it died first. But it kind of snowballed from there. And it kind of goes to show I did make a big mistake letting that live. But I think that despite my mistakes, he did get some pretty good draws. I do have a bit of trouble versus growth decks at the moment. But I've got to say, it was still a fun match, and I still enjoyed it. And I do like this deck, I just think it needs some sort of improvements. The cannon automatons feel a little bit like dead weight at the moment, but presumably there'll be something, sometime that allows me to get, that I can find that allows me to get through there. So, hopefully. Anyway, thanks for watching. This has been PA. You're not going to see any perpetual testing for a day or 2, but that's alright. Everything will be all sorted out by the time we finish, hopefully. And I'll see you all next time.